Let's get it going. I think tech is one of those areas that's still what's it called? Call it undercover, right? Like people still don't know why they should go into tech. So I don't know, Alan. I'll start with you. Like, why tech? Why should you be in tech? Like, if I'm an athlete in college now, why tech? Why should I consider tech?
So I'll answer it. The short answer is the earning potential, right? For me, there's so much money that you can make in this industry, and I know as athletes, like the ultimate goal is to get that LeBron James money, right? And the funny thing about tech is like there's certain people in this industry that make LeBron James money look short. So that would be the short answer to me. Um, the a little bit longer answer is that this is the future, right? Especially in Silicon Valley. Um, all of the greatest products, all of the greatest innovations, all of the things that we are now relying on come from this area and come from this industry.
Let me move over to my second question here. So, what does it take to break into tech? Like, I don't know. Kendrick, I'm going to pick on you. You went to Idaho, played football, went really well. One day the lights turn off, right? Like now you got to pay the bills. What does it take to break into tech?
Yeah. So first and foremost, that's a great question. Sometimes people ask me like, what class did I take in college that helped me most in my transition to being in the tech industry? So to be clear, I work in sales, software sales. So what I was told is if you're going to sell something, you should sell the most expensive thing in the world. And it's ultimately software. So my company that I have now, which is focused on helping underrepresented people break into the tech industry, we primarily focus on like working with athletes, right? And the characteristics that we look for to help these individuals get jobs are the coachability, drive, integrity, and intelligence. Like if you have those characteristics, you're willing to be coached, willing to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You work on goal time versus clock time.
Pharelle, Franklin, do you want to add anything to that?
Oprah Winfrey said it best: "Put yourself where you want to be, even if it means mopping the floor." And so we go to school, we get these degrees, so we feel like we should have certain jobs, and that may not always be the case because, hey, the same job that you're applying for, you in the tech industry may have 1,000 people applying for that one job. So we have to kind of shed the stigma of going into roles such as a contractor or temp roles, because those roles very much lead into full-time positions or FTE. So be willing to take pay cuts, be willing to utilize your transferable skills.
I got a question for you guys. So one of the things you guys mentioned is just your mindset and soft skills, right? What if I'm an introvert, right? Like I don't have those two. Like how do I get those?
Start real quick. I think it's about practice, right? With anything. Put yourself in uncomfortable situations. If you're not comfortable with talking to people, then that means you need to be talking to everybody that you see and flexing that muscle, working that muscle. It's just like, with sports. I'll take my sport, for example, playing basketball. A lot of people are not good free throw shooters. So what do? You avoid taking free throws and then you become Ben Simmons, or do you get in the gym and you keep taking free throws until you become a good free throw shooter? So I think with anything, it's all about practice and repetition and working on things that make you uncomfortable. Usually the best things in life, and I find the best things in tech are on the opposite side of fear.
As you interview people and you talk to people, like what impresses you when you interview people? Like everyone that's here today will have to interview to get into tech. They'll have to interview to get their next job. What impresses you when you guys interview people?
The number one thing that our mentees usually have to learn is how to tell their story, right? Because in telling your story, a person can tell anything they need to be able to tell about you, how smart you are, the type of person you are. Like what I was taught was like, I was raised in a single parent household. And my mentor was like, make sure you mention that every time in your interview, right? Like let them know when they bring up the word grit or tenacity or overcome something, let them know your whole life was challenging, right? Where a lot of these other people that are interviewing for these positions, things were handed to them. right? So what that says about me as a person, it might not say it on my resume, but when there's a problem and the problem isn't in the book, I'm going to find a way to figure it out because shit, I've been taking care of myself since I was like in second grade, right? When your mom's working 2 jobs and you in a house and you hungry, you know, you figure it out, you find a way to make it happen. So I would say that people are always looking for your storytelling skills. Like how good can you tell your story about yourself? And then how like open-minded you can be, because they're going to push you into corners. And if they feel like your responses are scripted, they're going to chew you up. So they want to like ask you questions to demonstrate like your coachability, your drive, your integrity, and your intelligence. And just be ready for, you know, questions like that. Like an interview question that we hear a lot is, I want you to explain a time where you didn't get along with your teammate or a coach and how you overcame that situation, right? Or I want you to explain a time in your last position where you had to face adversity. What did you do to overcome that adversity?
Storytelling is beyond critical, right? Think about it. Most interviews are 30 to 45 minutes, right? The first question you always get is what? Tell me a little bit about yourself, right? You should knock that question out of the park. Franklin, when you interview people, what do you look for?
Lots of like burning passion for like the products and problems that we're trying to solve with software. Someone that like has decent background or credentials. Not really super important what school you go to, but kind of just like a lot of focus on what products or projects they've built, what they've worked on. You can kind of learn really quickly in engineering as you kind of ask questions and like peel the onion if they kind of know what they're talking about on their resume and kind of like the nitty-gritty details.
But Franklin, so talk about that a little bit. Like, how do you tell if someone is passionate or not in an interview?
Yeah, so like being an engineer, just speaking for myself at Apple, it's like really competitive. Like you have people that play sports all their lives, but there's people that go to coding camps since like 5 years old at Stanford during the summer. So kind of like if they're building side projects or passionate about new software or products that are coming out, you can kind of ask them about what they work on in their free time, what they've built. So kind of like new tools and languages and frameworks and kind of theories that come out. Yeah, mostly like that, what they work on in their free time, new products, and like keeping up with current technologies, I would say is really important. It's like competitive, so it's important to like really stay on top of your game. A big landscape shift was we used to use a programming language called Objective-C very heavily at Apple across all operating systems.
You don't always have to be super passionate about something to be good at it, but you usually have to be passionate about something to be great at it, right? Like we all have been pretty naturally good at stuff we didn't really care about, but then like practice becomes a chore, right? But like when we love what it is we're doing, it's a lot more, it gives us a lot more like intention on what it is we're doing. And like while we're on the topic of making money, like most of my mentees that I mentor, we've helped place over 50 of them in just the last 2 or 3 months. All of them come from like the inner city, mostly student athletes. Some have degrees, some don't. But every single one of them, if they don't quit, will have the opportunity to make 6 figures in their second year, right, of being in the industry. For me, like after I played ball, I came home, like I started Ubering. I was an Uber driver and met this guy that told me to get in tech. And like the only thing I knew is that I wanted to make 6 figures by the time I was 25. And he laughed at me and he was like, Kendrick, kids make this in entry-level positions. So I didn't know what tech was. I didn't even know what I was applying for. I didn't have no help. But I'm like, if that's my goal and this is a way I can get there, you're telling me I can make 45K for 2 or 3 years, but that 4th year, I'm going to make 100K for the rest of my life. Like, I'll do that. And so a lot of people now, they don't really necessarily want to make the sacrifices, right? Like I went from 45K a year, right, to making 103K the next year.
We're way over time, so I'll stop talking and turn it over back to you, Chris. But I want to thank the panelists. Like I said, I always take notes. Thank you for the knowledge. Thank you for sharing your knowledge. I learned a lot. I appreciate it, man. Thank you.